Shantanu, you've been working for around 2 years now. How is the work culture like as compared to India? What would you say about that? What advice would you give a person who's looking for a job in your field? Like, I can suggest things from my field, but especially finance. What would you advise? One person is example. One person is coming from their similar background. What would be your advice? What is the first few things that that person might have to do? So, is there any like one or two certifications you can name? Would you advise a person with so much of experience or like so much of education to actually come to Canada and start from scratch? Like, I mean, I understand that it's a personal question. Like for you, it might be okay, it might not be okay. But what is your suggestion? Like after so much of experience, there's a lot of people who ask me, I have like 13 years of experience in that. Do you think it's worth to move to Canada? Shantanu, you've been working for around 2 years now. How is the work culture like as compared to India? What would you say about that?
See, before I start, like everybody knows that in India we stretch a lot, and we tend to finish the work. Like we don't have anything irrespective of whether it's doable or not. We go on and beyond that level to finish that job. And I think our family time is compromised a lot. But here I think that's where you enjoy the fruits of migration. So but like I don't know, from finance career perspective, I was earning way better in India than here. But if you see the work life balance, I think this is something different. Like in any field you go, I think the workers, those legislations are it's so stringent that it prevents the employers from exploiting them.
I saw a couple of reels these days, like it's just about Canada or people, I mean, about the work culture in Canada. So, one lady, she's attending a very important meeting and all of a sudden she looks like, oh, it's 5 and she shuts her laptop and goes. So it's kind of like that out here. It's not that you shut the laptop and go, but
That's
then
too hype.
it's not extreme like that, but still, for them 5 o'clock is 5 o'clock. It's not that okay, let me just finish my work and go at 5:15. They just wind up. If it's a Friday, it's like it's kind of like a weekend itself for them, right? They wind up early. I mean, but she is working for a government organization,
Yes.
which I would like to say one of the main reasons why I wanted to take her interview was that she was in finance and also in a government organization in Saskatchewan. We wouldn't disclose any details. It's her privacy. We don't want to do that. What about your husband, Shantini? Like, what is his field of work? Like, is he again working for a government organization or like?
Yes, he is also working for the government.
Okay.
Yeah, and he is also in this finance.
Yeah. So it's not like in India, wherein you go to a office and you will be like, oh, macha, macha, that kind of a thing you won't find
Yes.
here, right?
So
Yeah, people are very, very, even though they're extremely friendly, there's a very big difference between being friendly and, crossing the line. So they are very extremely friendly. They talk to you on a regular basis. But once office shuts down, that I feel the relationship shuts down there. They very rarely they take it outside office unless and until you become very pally with
Yes.
them. They take it outside office. Maybe you meet outside. But for them, work friends and other friends are very very different. So don't imagine to get into an office and think, okay, I'm going to make my best friend there. No, you.
No,
I don't think
no,
that
you're
is
not.
possible. I don't think that is possible. Especially when you are working with people from different cultures, especially Canadians and all. They are extremely helpful and friendly. But keep in mind that their friendship is related to the work and it's not taken outside office. I'm
Yes,
guessing
yes,
it's correct,
yes.
yeah. What advice would you give a person who's looking for a job in your field? Like, I can suggest things from my field, but especially finance. What would you advise? One person is example. One person is coming from their similar background. What would be your advice? What is the first few things that that person might have to do? If they're coming from India to Saskatchewan, what is the first few things that you would advise them to do when they're looking out for a job?
Be it finance or anything.
Yeah.
I think first, like even before you come, oh, you have to decide like which field are you going to, like, because some people they decide to switch field,
Yeah.
and then see whether your qualification is enough for you to get a job in Saskatchewan, like I mean in Canada at least, and then go through, like, for example, if you were an analyst or if you were a manager or if you were someone, just look for, like, job opportunities online,
Yeah.
and see what are the requirements for the job opportunities.
Yeah.
Like, what are the requirements, and do you fit those requirements? Like, for example, here we might get accounting jobs if you are, like, if you've done any qualification back home, but to go a level up you need a CPA.
Yeah.
Like, just do your research on what is the qualification that employers ask for in your field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, like, see if you can pitch for a job immediately, or do you need some contacts through LinkedIn. And then there are always NGOs which are funded through the government.
Do you know any names, like if you can maybe
I
one or
would,
two of them?
yeah, rods, and then CFS, and then there was RIWC,
RIWC,
Regina
yeah.
Immigration Women's Center. So I think you can reach out to these organizations, and then you can say, like, you're looking out. You can.
Is it only for new immigrants or for?
I think it's majorly for new immigrants. And like, when you reach out to them, they'll ask you, like, they'll ask you a certain list of questions, and they'll place you where you are, and they'll, like, also suggest. For example, I went to them only for job opportunities, but they also asked me if I would be interested in learning a new language.
Okay.
And they'll also tell me about the library, and, like, and some courses offered by the library.
Yeah.
Like, and then I think once you take the first step, it will lead you to a couple of steps, and then you develop a professional contact. And then, like, I know people back home, like, we have a lot of relatives and cousins and stuff like that, and we don't focus much on our professional circle. But when you come here along with your community, it's also good to focus on your professional circle.
Yeah. And like, we are sitting in a library today, and then, like, the amount of facilities that a library provides you is like amazing. Actually, Shantini was the one who suggested we meet at the library. So I was going through their website, figuring out things, and they have like a digital studio. They have computers where you can come and work, and maybe sit and build your resume, take printouts. So many sessions, like classes, on different topics. So if you're new in Saskatchewan, these are some things that you need to do. You might even find somebody, whom you can actually talk to from your same field, or look out for. You might get a chance to network when you come to such places. So like what she told, it's very, very important that you network in your professional field also, the same way you do with your personal. And yeah, like what she was telling, it's very important about the certifications required here. I know for logistics they look for an SEM certification. If you have that, it's an added advantage. Your chances of landing up with a job is much higher. Same with your field. So is there any, like, one or two certifications you can name?
I think most people here, they do something in Sask Poly.
Okay.
Or there is one university in Moose Jaw. I think they do some accounting courses there. Like, they do, like, if they are students, they do these accounting diploma.
Okay.
And in Sask Poly, there are short-term courses which could, like, end up like a basic office administrator and accountant job.
Okay.
And if you have to, like, really, like, set your career in finance, then I think CPA is the best. It's a professional course. It's not like a certification.
Yeah.
Based on your level of education back home, you might be given exceptions. Like, might be given little paper exemptions on, like, if there were 20 papers, they would just ask you to do 15 papers or 5 papers. Like, if, for example, I am ICWA, and there are some of my friends who are CA from India. For those guys, you have some, paper exemptions, and you can, like, you do less number of papers. But if you are a UG or a PG from India, then you might not be given that exemption. But I think CPA is the best course. It is tough. It does cost a lot. But when you decide that you're going to stay here, it's good.
It's good to have that. So another question is, would you advise a person with so much of experience, or like, so much of education to actually come to Canada and start from scratch? Like, I mean, I understand that it's a personal question. Like for you, it might be okay, it might not be okay. But what is your suggestion? Like after so much of experience, there's a lot of people who ask me, I have like 13 years of experience in that. Do you think it's worth to move to Canada?
Financially, no.
No.
Financially, no. If you're coming here, like especially from this field, accounts and finance field, if you are going to start from the scratch, it would take you years to get there. But it all depends on what you want in life,
Yeah.
right? So but for that you can't compromise so much on your on your mental health as well. Before you come here, it's like, for example, in my case, although my husband got a job and then I could join him, I was still supporting him from India.
Yeah.
On I was going for a job in India so that he could kind
take
of
time and then
yeah,
find a job.
had we decided that no, all three of us are going to come in one
Yeah.
go, then we have to take a house.
Yeah.
We have to take an apartment or a house, whichever thing. But if he's going to go as a bachelor, he could stay in a room.
Yeah.
Or he could stay in a basement. Even he could stay in a room in a basement, which would cost less.
Yeah.
So I think it's it's better that people, whether they decide to come or not is their choice. But for them to be aware of what they're getting into is really important.
Yeah. So, the decision is, whether even if you're getting a PR and coming here, or even if you're coming as a student, always a tendency is, let me bring my full family and come here, and then get settled as soon as possible. I would highly recommend. There are people who are doing it successfully and like really excelling in life, but I would always suggest that if you're doing a soft landing or if you're coming as a student, you come by yourself, or one person comes into Canada, understands the market, understands the situation, also weather conditions. You're not used to this, so at least if your own family member comes here and they get used to the climate, and then they can give you a feedback. So it's very important that you get a first hand experience, one person at least, and then you decide where you want to be, where you want to be put up. Like how she was telling, initially if it's just one person, you can share a room with a person, you can stay in a basement, you can make compromises, okay, and then later on, once you find a job and you're settled, then bring your family in. I understand that staying away from your family for that time, I'm sure she's also gone through the same. It's not an easy thing, especially when you have kids. It's a single parent managing a kid and the house and so many other things. But it's a compromise for a very short time, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, keep it a year. But once you come here, you're much more prepared, to handle situations. And the other one person is already here, settled, they have a job, and the other person also can take time to find a job. So these are some things I keep telling people, who reach out to me. But the tendency is, okay, my kid can't stay alone there with a single parent. They need both the parents. But it is a compromise made for a better future. So like how she told, financially it might be not so rosy as it seems, because there's so much of tax that you're paying, so much of groceries and those kind of expenses, like really high in Canada. But at the same time, it's not that. What I feel personally, Shantini, is that I used to also like earn really well back there. I used to have like business and this and all. But at the end of the day, I'm paying taxes there. But my main reason was, am I getting that kind of facilities there from the taxes I pay? But when you come here, you're paying taxes. At least when you get out on the road, you're not seeing like ditches and potholes and garbage and all those things. When you're out somewhere, you're not feeling that kind of thing. Okay, why am I paying all this taxes? Am I getting enough facility? We're getting so many benefits also from the government in Canada, right? So that was one of the main reasons why I shifted. So it's your personal choice, like what she told. Financially, no, maybe not. You might be able to pay up your debts if you have back in India. You might be able to survive initially. The first 2 or 3 years, you would say it's like a little bit of a struggle, right?
Yeah.
So talking about money, what do you think might be the salary expectation that people can have? Like a person, I know that you wouldn't know all the categories, but obviously a person who passes out of college maybe within $20 or maybe $18 or something, but who has experience, what would you say is the expectation they can have in your field?
even that is kind of like, it's like, if you ask the average Canadian
Yeah.
financial analyst salary, I just googled it, which is like around 90,000.
Okay.
But that 90,000, it's it depends on whether it's a good salary or bad salary. It depends on the place where you stay.
Yeah.
In Saskatchewan, that might be okay.
Okay.
But in Toronto, that might not be okay.
Correct.
So I think in Saskatchewan, to be very honest, like if you're going to start as an accountant, you could expect something around 40 to 50 or 55. And then from there, as you
55,000 per year. Yeah.
55,000, not $55, 55,000 per year, per annum. Yeah. And then I think people can reach 70 slowly, and then 90 would be little bit difficult, like challenging, kind of, not impossible, but 100 plus is like
a little.
It's hard.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard. But yeah. But if you're in Toronto, it's totally different. You could immediately get 85,000, and then you could go to 90 and 100. But
at the same time, the expense is also as high as how much you get.
Yeah.
So it's always a balance. And do you think, like for a family, like how would you think that expenses? Like I can talk about a couple, it's just me and my husband. But do you think the expenses are too much that you can't handle when you came initially?
I think one of the places where we couldn't cut at all was groceries. Especially when you have kids. At least they might want something like when you are an adult, you can focus on what are the needs.
Yeah.
But kids, you can't really you can't be so stringent on the budget. Like you don't buy this. Like you can reduce it a bit, but you can't always cut that down. So groceries, I think the prices have inflated a lot over the 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years it's gone up a lot.
Yeah. And if you see rent, maybe you could get it at a place little bit away from the city, so that you can get a lesser rent. Find an apartment for lesser rent, and then
you can also actually sign up with housing departments in Saskatchewan or Regina, and then I think it works that your rent might work out to 30% of your income. I don't know how it works with people who earn a little bit more, but if you're on a minimum wage and if you're a single person working, then it really works well. I know of one of my friend who's a single parent, and who got into from the housing, and she might be paying around $300-400 for a 3-bedroom apartment, 3-bedroom house. So if you are on a stringent budget and it's only one person working, your wife is not working or your husband is not working, you can always there's so many facilities for new immigrants or people with low income. So you can register and all these things. Like she told, there are a lot of NGOs to support you initially when you come here. One other thing what I wanted to ask was, this is just like from the top of my mind, like I know that you're working in a government organization, and how would you crack into a government organization? Like I understand like it might be the interview process and all might be kind of similar, but how do you crack a government job?
I think I'm not the right, because I'm only 1.5 years into the system.
Okay.
So I think basically for any job, I would say see the job description, and and if, for example, let us assume you are going to apply for a car company, car manufacturing company, or a car dealership, or a supermarket or something like that. Read about the company. Like if you're in finance, read about their company, read about their financial statements and the major decisions they've taken, and what could be your job role. Like from your job description, what could be your job role, what would it evolve around, and what could be the possible questions they might ask you. So for example, let us assume you are working for a grocery store. So like if you are an accountant, you should first see what did they do last year. Did they make a profit or a loss? And then what were the major decisions? Did they did they merge with someone, or did a bigger company acquire them? And how well was their sales? And then just things for like them, basically you are pitching, you are making a you're selling your skill set in that 20 minutes or 30 minutes. you have to like make sure that you're really interested in the company, and like you have read about the company,
Yeah.
and then like your accounting concepts, they do test accounting concepts
Okay.
here. So first, any job you go, they give you written test.
Yeah.
Then they give you like a technical test where you would be interviewed, and they would give you a case to solve, and they would also test you in Excels, and then the final thing would be a psychology test.
Okay.
Like most jobs.
Most jobs are like this.
I've like at least I've attended like I don't know n number of
Yeah.
interviews. I have like
Okay.
faced these, at least these
3 to 4 rounds will be there.
yeah,
right?
3 rounds at least it
Yeah.
will be there.
So it's not like I can't comment on the interviews in India because I haven't attended a lot of interviews. I have worked for like a couple of companies and it was my business. So whoever has attended interviews before can comment. But here I know for a fact like Prashant has attended so many interviews. So there will be first like an aptitude or written test. If it's for a customer service kind of a job, they'll ask you how you'll approach the customer. Several questions on customer service. Like I mean it's kind of confusing. Even I have taken a one aptitude test where the answers are so confusing. And then you have like what you told. In her case it's finance, so it's technical test. If it's IT, obviously you'll have a technical test. Then it might be a round of interview or like what you told, a psychological kind of test or something. So you're saying around four rounds you have to take.
Mostly like I would say that's like 3 is like it's I think it's the norm.
Okay.
And one more thing I would like to say, I know it might be a little bit off topic, is that even if you don't get selected, don't feel bad about it. Like in India, because once you know that the 2 rounds are done in the HR round, you might not get rejected. But here, until you get the offer letter, nothing is guaranteed for you. So don't feel like feel upset or dejected when you think
Don't
like,
get it, right?
yeah, like I've crossed so many levels. Why am I not getting this job? Because here because the scrutinization on choosing the candidate is so it's so like the process is so much that they might be really a person who's better than you. It might not have it should not have anything to do with your skill set, or like you're not worth it. It's just that someone else they feel is more appropriate or more fit for the job.
Also, they have a poker face. I've seen that many many interviewers here. When you give the interview, they'll be like, amazing, awesome, you did so great, that, and you'll get rejected.
So yes, don't take comments at the just by the face value. Take it with a pinch of salt, I would say.
Because they don't want to demotivate you. That's the thing here. In India, I've seen a couple of interviews where you say, okay, I'm not sure about it. It's like, oh, you're not sure? Why? And you had experience in it. Why are you not sure? All these questions might come. But here it's like, hey, it's okay, you can just, it's okay, we'll ask you the next question, or, maybe you did a great job. It's, they make you so comfortable with things, but you might not get selected. So that is one issue here. You might have an expectation, you might get the job, but not necessarily you will land up with it. So until and unless you see that, you've been selected for this offer, like don't lose heart. That's what she's trying to tell you. So is there like a website or, what websites would you suggest for job hunt, especially for government jobs?
I would say for government jobs, you could go to the government websites of any state or province you're in.
Okay.
Just go to that government website. For example, Government of Alberta, Government of Saskatchewan, Government of, I don't know, lot of things. Yeah. So, and that is for the provincial jobs. For the federal jobs, go to the Government of Canada website, and then just type keywords like on your developer or architect or financial analyst or accountant or something like that. Some job will will pop up, and then you could probably see whether you are having those skill sets. Because in India, when you are an analyst, almost every other MNC you could sell that skill set very easily. But here it's not the case. Like for every job, they might have some small changes. Right? So you have to really see if you would be able to, do your best at the job even before you're applying. Because I think one of the advantages in India is that even if you are not exactly
fit for that, you can get through.
But here it's not like that.
And do you think Indeed is a good platform to look out for jobs?
Yes. I've found a lot of opportunities
Through
through
Indeed.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, yes.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, like
For jobs or mainly for networking?
for jobs also.
Also, right? Yeah.
Also, but
Okay.
I would suggest doing networking like through your professional, connections.
Okay.
That is also helpful.
Okay.
Like here I came and I searched, I just like Google, like, consultants or recruiters, and then I got a list of people, and then I, like, thought who might be approachable,
Yeah.
and then I would have a standard template of message which I would be sending to their inbox.
Okay.
And
You
then
mean
some
in LinkedIn?
LinkedIn.
Okay.
And then some would respond and some would not. And like even if they respond, I make sure that I'm very crisp in my message so that
Yeah.
I get their attention and I'm able to connect with them. I used to give invitations,
Okay.
but not many would accept.
Yeah.
Like, in
So this is very important. This cold messaging, I've heard one of my other friend also got a job through that. So she was messaging people in LinkedIn with a very crisp and short message, to companies that she's interested in. So it might be the recruiting manager or of the particular department, and it's not that everybody will respond. Maybe two or three might respond, and she landed up with a job. So it really works. So you're saying LinkedIn, Indeed, and then government websites, you can go and, look out for things. And then is there any specification that they actually look out? I've heard that there's a lot of scrutiny that happens when you are applying for a government organization. You need PCC and those kind of things, right?
I think the major thing is that you should have a valid work visa.
Okay.
That is most important
Yeah,
in most of the because very few departments provide that SINP.
Okay.
But most of them prefer a valid work
Like
visa.
mostly permanent residents are
Resident
there,
or
right?
Canadian, like Canadian
Citizens, yeah.
citizens. Yes.
So people with maybe work permits, a little less chance, or if you're transitioning from a work permit to a PR, you can still try because your application is in process and those kind of things. And I also heard that they provide a lot of training. Is it for government organizations? Do they provide in-house trainings?
I'm not very sure because it depends on, like,
Which department
which
you are in?
department
Okay.
you do. In mine, I didn't have much training. I know in my other friends' department, they had a lot of training. Like, it depends on your job description, on, like,
Okay.
On which level they want you to take. And
Things like
there
that.
might be some jobs which they provide training. There might be some jobs which they want you to, like, start within a, like, that they would just explain the procedures of that particular team, and they would want you to work immediately. So
Okay.
mine was one such thing.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we've covered most of it. I've run out of my questions, but I've been asking her because I'm also really inquisitive to know about a lot of things. Obviously, this is going to help me also in my job search once I start doing my search. After getting my PR. Any final thoughts, Shantini? Like anything that you would like to give insight to our subscribers out of these questions? Like what?
First off, I would say if you are already in Canada, don't worry. It's a good place. I know we've, like, given a lot of truth pills here, but it's just to, like, make you aware, but not to, like, kind of demotivate you. So it's a very good place. There are a lot of opportunities, but the only thing is that to, like, do your proper research, have your finances, like, planned, and then look out for opportunities. If you had to change your path a little bit, be willing to do that, and be open to any change that comes your way, and grab any opportunity
that comes.
that would be one thing. And next would be, like, if you are searching for a job, just make sure that you are, like, kind of glued to it, like, in the job search. Like, first few weeks,
don't take it as a part-time thing. Take it as a full-time thing and
yes,
look out for a
because
job.
that's your bread and butter. That's your thing. Like, you have to hit a job. So that should be your primary thing. Like, if you ask me, I would be like a zombie, just having my coffee. Sometimes I wouldn't even, like, eat properly because that window of time when everyone's out of the house, where I have my me time, I would just be focusing on, like,
getting the right opportunity.
and plan your day. Like, I know it's very hard when everything doesn't go the way you want it to, but just don't get, like, bogged down. It's good to feel, like, it's okay to feel bad and, like, sad and upsetting, because we're all human beings and we do get upset. It's not avoidable, but it gets better one day, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, just plan your day, see, like, okay, first thing I was doing was I was just applying, and then I got to know on how to change my resume through these organizations.
Decisions, yeah.
Then I checked for a couple of, like, YouTube videos, and like these, I follow certain people on LinkedIn who just give me like daily reminders.
Okay.
They don't basically, drag the thing, they just give me
Okay.
reminders, so I learned to be more crisp. So something like that, and then focus that on your, like, your activity which you are doing, like, resume building or job application, like, what is this person expecting from me?
Yeah.
Do I have it? Okay, yes. Then should I apply for this job? Yes. How well do I present it so that at least my resume gets
Gets
picked
set
up?
yeah.
And then I forgot to tell this, actually. I went to a career fair. There are a
Okay.
lot of career fairs in every city
yeah.
in Canada. You should go there. And I planned what I was going to speak. I was super nervous. Still, I spoke to them, and I almost got like 3 openings, like,
Okay.
in for like interviews, 3 calls for interviews.
Okay.
And one of them even told, like, I would be given a joining bonus.
Okay.
So be prepared to do elevator pitch, like,
Yeah.
just 5, I think 1 minute, because that day I think at least 200 to 300 people would have, like,
Come for the
fair,
yeah.
and they are going to see a lot of them. How are you going to make your conversation stay in their
Shanvi,
mind?
I'm very, very inquisitive of what was your pitch, like, can you give a, like, I'm sure this will help a lot of people. Like, it's not that, they will be replicating the same, but can you give an idea of how you did it?
So I don't know if I can say this, because it might be slightly towards, like, not describing your race, but
Yeah.
slightly, because there are a lot of people. I just go to each desk, each, like, kiosk, and I say, hey, I'm Shantini, I'm doing this, this is my educational background, I'm currently in an in an accounting role, and I'm looking for opportunities. Just have my resume. I like had around 20 to 30 resumes printed on my hand.
Okay.
And then I used to give it to them. And please don't forget me, like, once you go to your office. In case if you don't remember me, think of that girl who has a broad smile,
Yeah.
and a brown color.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how else I could make them remember me.
Yeah.
And it did work.
Okay.
It did work.
That's really
Like,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I made sure that I went to them, because there were a lot of people standing behind me.
Yeah.
That 30 seconds which I interact with them, I made sure I conveyed my point.
And they remember you also,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's very important. Like, in business, we do this. Like, we have elevated pitch. I used to be part of a networking organization, which they say, like, in 30 seconds, if you're in an elevator, maybe with, one of the famous personality whom you want to crack a deal with, in an elevator, in 30 seconds, you should be able to sell your product. So it should be so interesting that they go back to office and think about you. So that's what exactly she was trying to tell you. So it's very, very important. So bring all your tips and tricks into the game while you're searching for a job, which is very, very important. I really wanted to do the session. I'm so glad I did it, Shantini. I got a lot of insight personally. And, I'm sure that even the subscribers, if not for finance, if for any other field, all these are very, very important. I hope this was a very informative session. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Shantini.
so much. Thank you so much for calling me, Malini. And please do subscribe to MALZ vlogs. She's such a, like, fun-loving person. I've met her in person. I know you guys have met her digitally, but I've met her in person. She's such a, like, happy-go-lucky person. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. So stay tuned. We have a lot of other content coming up of this sort. I was thinking it was always better to involve another person, get their perspective of things. And I hope you like the video. And thanks a lot, Shantini.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye, guys.